Oh my goodness, what a welcome. I want to share a reading this morning from a naturalist and author named Cy Montgomery. And it's from a book titled The Soul of an Octopus, a surprising exploration into the wonders of consciousness. She says, on a rare warm day in mid-March, I had a date with a giant Pacific octopus. I knew little about octopuses, but what I did know intrigued me. Here is an animal with venom like a snake, a beak like a parrot, and ink like an old-fashioned pen. It can weigh as much as a man and stretch as long as a car, and yet it can pour its baggy, boneless body through an opening the size of an orange. It can change color and shape. It can taste with its skin. Most fascinating of all, I read that octopuses are smart. This bore out what scant experiences I already had. Like many who visit octopuses in public aquariums, I've often had the feeling that the octopus I was watching me back, with an interest as keen as my own. How could that be? It's hard to find an animal more unlike humans than an octopus. Their mouths are in their armpits, they breathe water, their appendages are covered with dexterous, grasping suckers, a structure for which no mammal has an equivalent. And not only are octopuses on the opposite side of the great vertebral divide that separates the backbone creatures from such as mammals, birds, and reptiles, and fish from everything else, they are classed with the invertebrates, with the mollusks and the slugs, snails, and clams, animals that really aren't particularly renowned for their intellect. Clams don't even have a brain. More than 500 million years ago, the lineage that would lead to octopuses and the one leading to humans separated. Was it possible, I wondered, to reach another mind on the other side of that divide? Octopuses represent the great mystery of the other. They seem completely alien, and yet their world, the ocean, comprises far more of the earth than does land. Most animals on this planet live in the ocean, and most of them are invertebrates. I wanted to meet the octopus. I wanted to touch an alternate reality. I wanted to explore a different kind of consciousness, if such a thing exists. What is it like to be an octopus? Is it anything like being human? Is it even possible to know? It's totally improbable that octopuses exist. You could say that about many creatures, but octopuses are truly one of a kind. Now, we have a common ancestor with these cephalopods way back in the dim recesses of evolution more than 600 million years ago, a flat, worm-like creature. At some point, this creature decided to venture onto land and later developed a backbone. They became the vertebrates, the birds, the reptiles, the mammals, and eventually humans. The other branch, the branch that stayed in the water, became the invertebrates, those without backbones. Based on our understanding of evolution, we have classified octopus as part of the mollusk family, the shelled creatures like the snail and the clam. Within this family, the octopuses make up a family called cephalopods, along with cuttlefish and squid. So what makes the octopus unique and uniquely intelligent and amazing is at some point, they decided to ditch the shell. Other mollusks kept their shells. I'm sure you're familiar with shelled mollusks. Now, this ditching of the shell was a radical act of liberation and vulnerability. For octopuses were no longer protected. While their bodies were free and flexible, as one scientist put it, the evolution of the cephalopods yielded in the octopus a body of pure possibility. But they were also easy prey, vulnerable and exposed. And this is why, as some scientists believed, octopuses became smart. They developed a nervous system much larger than others in their class, with amazing camouflage capabilities and tremendous creativity. They did this to survive and thrive. I encourage you to go onto YouTube and look for some of the octopus videos and watch their amazing transformation as they adapt to all of their surroundings. Okay, well, that's really nice about the octopuses, so why are we talking about them in church? In my theology class 12 years ago, we were handed out an index card, and we were told to write on this index card proof that God existed. Well, I think we got 5 minutes for that. 12 years ago, I wrote down music, kept it very short, and believe me, listening to that adagio reinforces that thought. But if I were to do that exercise again, I would write that my proof of God is the octopus. This is not because I think that God created the octopus. I don't believe in a transcendent God that created everything and manages the earth and the heavens. And I don't think that God is an octopus, though that would actually be really cool. For me, God is the creative life force in all of its manifestations. And one of the creative life force's most amazing and inspiring manifestations is the octopus. The octopus is proof of God, proof that there is a creative power in the universe that is truly amazing, and a power that we can all participate with. Now, of course, not everybody sees it this way, you can imagine. As Cy Montgomery said, octopuses represent this great mystery of the other. And humans have had a visceral fear of octopus for centuries, starting with the 13th century Norse legends of the Kraken, and continuing into the 20th century with Captain Nemo fighting the giant octopus in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I'm sure some of you can picture those sci-fi movie posters from the 50s and 60s that shows the giant octopus and everybody running in fear. We humans like to put things that we don't understand in a category of other, things that seem strange or different to us. And then we project all sorts of judgments onto them and make lots of negative assumptions. This then leads to fear and disgust, and it creates our desire to destroy. We turn the other into a monster to justify our hatred and our self-created fear. This is the dark side of human nature, whether the other is an octopus, an idea, a group of people, anything that is strange to us. I'm sure you will appreciate that this attitude is alive in our country today. Cy Montgomery knew that these creatures were strange but wonderful and set out to have a relationship with an octopus. Now, of course, as a naturalist and an author, she could negotiate with the New England Aquarium to have that access. But she asked an important question: who was she having a relationship with? If you think of having a relationship with something, it implies that there is something, there is a consciousness that you can have a relationship with. Again, we humans, poor sad souls who need about 10,000 more years of evolution, we don't have a great track record on recognizing forms of consciousness other than our own. Lots of scientists, including Jane Goodall, the chimp expert, suppress their findings about the individuality and consciousness in other species out of the fear of being vilified by the scientific establishment. It took until the 21st century before a breakthrough came with the Cambridge Declaration of Consciousness, the 21st century. Signed by scientists including Stephen Hawking right in front of the 60 Minutes cameras. This Declaration of Consciousness asserts that humans are not unique in possessing the neurological substrates that generate consciousness, and that non-human animals, including all birds and mammals and many other creatures, including octopuses, also possess these neurological substrates. Yay, shout out to the octopuses in the Cambridge Declaration of Consciousness. So this was the experience of Montgomery. She understood that octopuses have consciousness, they have identities, they have personalities. And over many years, she and the staff developed relationships with 4 octopuses in the aquarium. You might even say they were close relationships. The octopuses would recognize her when she visited. They would make eye contact and study her. They would come to her and place their arm suckers on her hands and arms and stay that way for a while, tasting and sensing her deeply. One moment in her story that really stood out for me was about an octopus named Octavia who was dying. Montgomery had known this octopus for several years, almost all of the octopus's life. Octavia needed to be moved into a different tank and was evading the staff until one who had been very familiar with Octavia went into the tank and reached out and touched her. She immediately went into the net. She recognized him and trusted him. Once she was in her new container, she was offered a fish and floated to the top of the tank in order to receive it. But it wasn't the fish that she wanted. It was the touch of her human friends for one last time before she died. Similarly, in the movie My Octopus Teacher, a man develops a relationship with an octopus over about a year and shares moments of touch and connection. It's beautiful to witness. Those of you who've seen the movie, and I think I talked about it in my story, will remember the octopus pressing her tentacles against his chest and connecting with him. I think it's a beautiful title, My Octopus Teacher, because teacher is a good word to bring in here in my sermon. I think in their uniqueness and their strangeness, octopuses have some really important lessons for us. And the first lesson, of course, is humility. We kind of consider ourselves the standard by which all other creatures should be judged. When we find some common ground with another creature, we tend to anthropomorphize them, see them through our lens, and assume that any behavior that is similar to ours is the same as ours. The scientists who struggled with the idea that other beings have consciousness were concerned that if we assumed they had consciousness, we might anthropomorphize them. We would project our own experience onto them. But we have learned that other creatures may have consciousness, but it is very different from our own. We humans, especially those of European descent, tend to approach areas of difference as colonizers. We take what we need to enrich ourselves, including knowledge and resources. We have an attitude that everything is put on the earth for our benefit. We think that everyone would be better off if they were more like us. If we can put aside this need to center ourselves, if we can bring curiosity and openness to our octopus neighbors, There's a chance for us to open our hearts to greater possibility. We need to learn to treat the other with respect. We need to learn from them. Here's another important lesson from the octopuses that Cy Montgomery learned, that we can develop an ability to appreciate something without completely understanding it. Montgomery was friends with the octopus, but she didn't necessarily understand them. She didn't shy away. She went beyond the understandable. Just like Jane Goodall, who sat down to observe the chimps and take in who they were on their own terms. Of course, these lessons are not just about the octopus or any creature that is strange to us. These lessons are important for living in our complex world. So for a while now among you ministers, there's been a lot of angst about what we should be preaching in this time of war and suffering. How much of the troubles of the world should we address on Sunday morning? And as I was preparing this service, these thoughts were on my mind. Why was I preaching about octopus when there was so much strife in the world? But I realized that the amazing, improbable octopus gives me hope. They are this powerful example of the creative life force at work. They could open us up to the possibility of new understandings of other ways of being. We humans are still very early in our evolution, and we really, I pray that we learn a way of being with each other beyond killing each other out of fear and hate. Experiencing the wonder of the octopus is a good start. If we can approach the world with humility and curiosity, if we can decenter ourselves enough to connect with those that are different from us, there is hope. The creative life force is astounding as it is manifest in the octopus, as it is manifest in trees, in humans, and in the earth itself. Engaging with this life force in a creative way takes trust and courage. When the octopus got rid of its shell, it became a body of pure possibility. How can we liberate ourselves from a shell of our own creation? If we can tap into the amazing creative life force of our universe, anything can happen. We might even learn how to save ourselves as a species. Blessed be, and may it be so.